Hello friends, so today I am going to show you how to make a simple maxi dress. This is going to be perfect for beginner because I am going to be using this dress as my pattern. I'm going to trace this, just trace around the dress, but I'm not going to trace the sleeves. I'm going to trace a different sleeves. So basically I want the same shape. So this is like a simple A-line dress. So if you're going to recreate this project, be sure to add at least 1 inch allowances on the side seam, make it a little bigger, so it will just give you room for adjustment. And the shoulder seams, you can just add 1/2 inch on both sides of the shoulders and as well as the neckline. So the neckline is going to be totally up to you. You can make it like a crew neck, or you can easily change the neckline basically. Just going to trace this. I'm tracing it on this thick paper. This pattern is going to be really easy to alter because if I wanted to make it like a flowy dress, I'm just going to add more on the sides, you know, just like that. That's why I decided I'm going to make a block pattern for this so I can save it, and next time I don't have to take this dress here and use it as my pattern because I already have one. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Now I folded my fabric just like this, and I'm going to place the pattern right on top of it. And notice that I place the pattern on fold. So I will cut out one piece, and this is the front piece. So I'm just going to pin it onto the fabric so when I cut it out, it will not move. Then I am going to carefully cut it out. I'm really taking my time here because the fabric is so soft, so I want it as accurate as possible. After that, I am going to cut out the back panel. I also folded the fabric in half. Next, I am going to cut out the sleeves. So I doubled the fabric just like this so I can cut 2 sleeves at once. And then I'm just going to sew the inseams, and I'm going to be doing 1/2 inch. The same for the front and back panel. I'm just going to match it, and then I am going to sew the shoulder seams and the side seams also in 1/2 inch seam allowance. And be sure that the right sides of the fabrics are facing each other. If this is your first time to be working with a jersey material, it is a good idea to put a pilot fabric right on the very beginning of the fabric right here, as you can see what I'm doing. That will prevent the fabric from getting stuck in the machine or getting eaten by the sewing machine. By the way, I am using a stretch stitch for this because it's going to be on the shoulder, so you want it to stretch a little bit. And the setting was 3.0. If you don't have a stretch stitch on your sewing machine, use a narrow zigzag stitch. So as you can see here, the pilot fabric helped the fabric a lot and it did not mess up the ends of the fabric. Then I'm just going to simply trim it off and then you have a good looking seams right here. Next, I am going to sew the side seam. Be careful when you are sewing it, you don't want it to stretch. So don't stretch the fabric, just kind of push it a little bit, but don't stretch it whatsoever because it's going to end up with a wavy edges and you don't want that. Also, I am using a walking foot for this project. You can also use a knit foot, and I forgot to use it, but this one worked just as good. Now I am sewing the inseam of the sleeve, and I'm also trying to stay with my 1/2 inch seam allowance just to be accurate. Now it's time to finish the neckline. Because this project is targeted for beginner, I am going to make it simple. Now I am going to sew a stay stitch along the neckline all the way around, and I'm also going to be using a stretch stitch for this. The reason why I am doing a stay stitch along the neckline is because I don't want the fabric to stretch too much and lose its shape. And please do not stretch the neckline. I am just kind of holding it here, but I am not stretching it or anything. Because if you stretch it, it's going to gape and it doesn't look right. Now it should look something like this. And there are so many options to finish the neckline: neck facing, neckband, or bias neck binding. I already have all those. I'm probably going to have the link in the description box below on how to do that. But like I said earlier, because this project is targeted for beginners, I am going to make it simple. So first I am going to fold it in like this, and I'm using the stay stitch as my guide. You want it inside the wrong side of the fabric. You don't want it on the outside. So I'm just going to pin it all along the edges. I'm just going to fold it over and then pin it to secure all the way around. After that, I am going to sew along the edges as close to the raw edges as possible, also using a stretch stitch or a narrow zigzag stitch. And I'm not stretching the fabric like I mentioned earlier. Now this is done. I decided to fold it one more time just to give the neckline some body and some stability. So I fold it over just like this, and this time I am going to be using a straight stitch just because the neckline is big enough so I can easily pull it over my head. Here I am taking my time. I really want the stitches to be precise and uniform because that is going to be the finished stitch. So meaning you will see the stitching on the neckline. So you want it to be as straight as possible. Now that the neckline is finished, it's time to work on the sleeves. I'm going to turn the dress wrong side out, and I'm going to turn the sleeve right side out, and I'm going to place the sleeve inside the armhole. I am going to match the seams first and then pin it all the way around. So if the sleeves are a little too big, mine was about 1 inch bigger than the armhole. So what I did was I just kind of did a lightly gathering right on the very top of the sleeve. And don't worry, that is normal. It's called easing of the sleeve. So you want to ease the sleeve into the armhole. And then I am going to sew it all the way around just like this, again staying with my 1/2 inch seam allowance. After that, I am going to finish the hemlines and the dress is pretty much done. Because the dress was a little too simple, I decided to add details onto the sleeves. So the sleeves hits me right about down to my elbow. So I decided I'm going to add a cuff. I decided to turn it into a puff sleeves instead. So I just trim off the sleeves about 2.5 inches. So they should look something like this. Now it's time to resize the bands. I basically just put it on like this and just kind of figure out how much fabric I need to trim off of it. Or you can also use a measuring tape, measure around your arm, just like I did here, and just mark it onto the fabric. And then I'm just going to sew a straight stitch all the way down, and I'm going to trim off the excess fabric. Now I'm going to set these aside and I'm going to deal with the sleeve hems. Now I am going to sew a base stitch all the way around. Then I am going to lightly gather it, just like this, to match the armband. Once they are in the same width, I'm going to place the armband just like this. Right sides of the fabrics are facing each other and I'm going to match the inseams. And then I'm going to pin it all the way around. After that, I am going to sew it all the way around and I will be using a stretch stitch because if you use a regular straight stitch, it will be impossible to put it on and the threads will break as you stretch it out. So that would not be good. So you have to use a stretch stitch or a narrow zigzag stitch. After I sewn it all the way around, it's time to finish the hemlines here. Be sure to remove the base stitch so you can easily stretch the sleeves later on. And here I am just trying on the sleeve just in case I need to adjust it, and I think it looks perfect, and I actually like the look of this wide band. So next time I will keep that in mind. Now to finish the sleeve hem or the band, I am just simply going to fold the band just like this, fold it in. I'm just going to fold it over on the wrong side of the fabric. And if you notice, I am putting the raw edges inside the band. So you don't want to see that, you want to encase the raw edges. And as I pin, I make sure that the band overlap a little bit because when I sew it later on, I want to be able to catch the ends of the band. By the way, you guys, if you made it this far, I want to say thank you so much for staying with me, and I hope this tutorial is helpful to you, and I hope this tutorial is easy enough for you to recreate. If you decided to recreate any of my project, be sure to tag me on Instagram. My account there is Aldo Official. And then I'm just going to slide it under. As you can see, I removed the basting stitch. Now the sleeve is actually stretching and it fits the arm right here. So I'm just going to do a stitch in the ditch method here because I don't want to see the stitching. I want it to be invisible. You will repeat the same steps onto the other sleeve, obviously, and this is what the sleeve should look like. I thought it looks super cute and just like I love it. I love it when my vision comes to life. It makes me so happy. Now all I have to do is finish the hemlines. You can double fold it like this, or if you have a serger, you can also serge it, which I did, and then sew it all the way around, and the dress is finally done. Yay! This dress is so versatile. I can easily dress this up by pairing it with like a fancy shoes and accessories, or if I wanna dress it down, I can just pair it with my favorite white sneakers that I wear all the time. So yeah, I'm very happy with this dress. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope this tutorial is helpful to you. Be sure to subscribe to my channel or hit that notification bell so you will get notified whenever I post a new video. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Bye!